Hello, NFL fans, and welcome to another year of the USA Today Sports Network NFL Mock Draft. I am Luke Easterling, editor of the Draft Wire, and I am joined by an all-star cast of NFL beat writers from across the USA Today Sports Network to mock through the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. The real thing is in just a few days, but we're going to get you ready for it by making the picks ourselves in advance. I can't wait to get started. We're going to start at the very top. I think we all know where this pick is going to go, but we're going to go to John Reed to make it official for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
With the number one overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback. And no surprise about this pick. He's a generational talent compared to Andrew Luck. And this is a franchise who has not had a franchise quarterback since Mark Brunell 18 years ago. The Jaguar fans have been saying hallelujah since December when they clinched that number one pick.
No surprise there as the Jaguars take Trevor Lawrence. We're going to move on to the New York Jets, who are probably also thinking quarterback at number 2 overall, but which one will it be? Let's go to Andy Vasquez for the Jets pick.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a big surprise either. I have the Jets at number 2 overall, taking Zach Wilson out of BYU, a quarterback. I think you could make arguments that there are better options out there, or guys who at least have more experience against better competition and are just as good as Wilson, but it's hard to argue against Wilson. I mean, he has all the arm talent in the world and everything you need to put the Jets in the right direction and maybe be the quarterback they've been looking for so long. He can be a game changer for them, but as we saw with Sam Darnold just 3 years ago, they better put the right pieces around him.
2 picks, 2 quarterbacks. Can we make it 3 in a row? The San Francisco 49ers have already obviously traded up to this pick from number 12. We assume they're targeting a quarterback. Let's see if that's what Lorenzo Reyes has in mind at number 3 for the 49ers.
Yeah, look, you don't trade up here just to take an offensive tackle or something. With the 3rd pick, the 49ers are taking Justin Fields. There's a lot of smoke here about the pick being Mac Jones. And while I think Jones does make sense in Kyle Shanahan's offense, I just think Fields gives you more upside. He has so many more physical gifts. He has incredible arm strength, can really drive throws with his lower body, with his legs. And he's also just incredibly tough. And as Jimmy Garoppolo, who's an incumbent, he's had some injury issues. Justin Fields, I don't think, is only an insurance policy. I think they will groom him eventually to be the franchise quarterback.
That makes 3 quarterbacks in a row off the board to start things. Will the Falcons make it 4 in a row, or will they take the first non-quarterback off the board? For that pick, we go to Nate Davis.
Yeah, we're going to take Kyle Pitts with this pick and break the quarterback string. Certainly quarterback, a big consideration with Matt Ryan, going to be 36 this year. But Matt Ryan is basically tied to this team contractually for another 2 years. Certainly consideration to trade down with this pick, but you don't want to trade down and miss out on a premium player. So we take maybe the best tight end prospect the draft has ever seen. 6'6", 246, 4.4 speed, Kyle Pitts. Put him in between Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, assuming Julio Jones is still here next week. Either way, you got a monster offense and a great way to extend Matt Ryan's career. And Arthur Smith, our new coach, loves tight ends.
So we finally have a pick that's not a quarterback at number 4. It's a pass catcher. Do we see another pass catcher at number 5? The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. They already have their quarterback in Joe Burrow, last year's number 1 overall pick. Do they give him a little bit of help? Let's go to Tyler Dragon and find out.
You're on the right track. With the number 5 overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase. The Bengals elect to not go with their biggest need, which is along the offensive line, to get Joe Burrow another pass catcher. Jamar Chase and Burrow were former teammates at LSU during their national championship run. He won the Fred Biletnikoff Award, and he will give the Bengals a 3rd wide receiver. Zach Taylor likes to run an 11 personnel style offense, and with A.J. Green departing to Arizona, Jamar Chase can fit that void right there at receiver.
3 quarterbacks, then back-to-back pass catchers. Do we have another run and make it 3 in a row with pass catchers? The Miami Dolphins are on the clock. This is a team that's already moved up and down around in this draft from 3 back to 12, now back up to 6. Who is their target here? Let's go to Joe Shad for that pick.
With the 6th pick in the draft, the Dolphins will select Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama. Very disappointing for Dolphins general manager Chris Grier to see Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase both come off the board right in front of them after having moved down from 3 when they could have had the best non-quarterback option. Dolphins will seriously weigh the 2 former Alabama teammates, Devontae Smith and Jaylen Waddle, and Waddle's speed certainly could put him over the edge. Dolphins try to trade down, but if they're unable to, perhaps Devontae Smith is the 6th pick.
We have another positional run going. We have 3 quarterbacks at the top. We've got 3 pass catchers here. So far, no defensive players, no offensive linemen. Does that change here at the number 7 overall pick? We're going to go to Dave Burkett and find out.
With the 7th pick of this mock NFL draft, the Detroit Lions take Oregon offensive tackle Penei Sewell. And look, Luke, I was tempted to take Trey Lance here. I'm a big believer in his talents. I think the Lions need a long-term solution at the quarterback position, but I don't think they're ready to go that route. I do believe that with the top offensive skill players off the board, Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase, the Lions are looking at some help for Jared Goff, and maybe that comes in the form of a left tackle like Sewell, who has all-pro potential. They would also consider the other Alabama receiver, Jaylen Waddle, in this scenario, maybe Rashaan Slater of Northwestern as well. But Sewell's potential and the ability to fit in on a really good offensive line with Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow makes him the pick for the Lions at number 7.
So we have our first offensive lineman off the board. We still have not seen a defensive player selected in this mock. The Carolina Panthers are on the board at number 8 overall. Do they dip into the pool of defensive prospects here? Let's go to Carlos Menares and find out. Carlos may be working the phones here. He's trying to trade out. We're not sure. What's the deal going to be? Can we make a deal?
Sorry about that. Little glitch here. Well, Luke, your crystal ball is working just fine. With the number 8 pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers select Patrick Surtain II, quarterback from Alabama. Like that general manager in Detroit, passing on Trey Lance is tough. But trading for Sam Darnold should calm everybody's fears about who's going to start at quarterback this year for the Panthers. Instead, the Panthers select the NFL's top cornerback in the draft in Surtain. Didn't have a ton of interceptions at Alabama, but he's the ideal corner. He's tall, he's fast, he's fluid, he has pedigree. His dad played in the NFL for a long time. I think made 3 Pro Bowls for the Dolphins. He beefs up the Panther secondary, and he probably gives them an immediate starter with A.J. Boye due to serve suspension in the NFL for the first 2 games of the season.
I tell you what, Carlos, I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers do end up on the phone until the very last minute if this scenario plays out. You've obviously got a quarterback on the board worth a team moving up for that type of player. But Surtain goes off the board here as the first defensive player selected at number 8. That puts the Denver Broncos on the clock. Joel Erickson is here to make their pick at number 9.
Yeah, Luke, with the 9th pick, the Denver Broncos select Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State. Obviously, Denver already has Drew Lock. They've said they've seen good things from him this offseason. They still think he might be able to be the guy, but they also said they want to add competition at this position. And this draft with this quarterback class, Trey Lance has a high upside. He can develop along with him. Denver has been looking for so long to get the quarterback they need, a long-term franchise quarterback. They might as well take as many shots as they can to get that position right and just see how it plays out over the next couple of years. They've got a good roster elsewhere. They're trying to make sure they find a quarterback. Now they've got 2 shots at it.
The Broncos take our 4th quarterback off the board in Trey Lance. That puts us at number 10 overall. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. Jory Epstein is here with their pick.
Absolutely, Luke. And with the 10th pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cowboys select Northwestern offensive tackle Rashaan Slater. Now, I know there are going to be some Cowboys fans who are like, that defense and you're going with an offensive tackle. And had Patrick Surtain still been there, I agree. But they're going to have to address secondary beginning in the 2nd round, because with Dak Prescott at $160 million the next 4 years, to have a tackle like Rashaan Slater still available, you have to protect that investment. The Cowboys starting offensive tackles played a combined 2 games in 2020, and it was not pretty. Tyron Smith isn't playing forever, and Rashaan Slater will help beginning in 2021 and beyond.
It's hard to argue with that pick, Jory. I think you're right. I think a lot of people would expect a defensive prospect there, but Slater makes a ton of sense. Again, you do have to protect the investment in your quarterback there. We're going to stay in the NFC East. We're going to go down to number 11. The New York Giants are on the clock, and we go to Art Stapleton.
Hey, Luke, I'll save you the Dave Gettleman Boston accent, and I will go with the 11th pick, wide receiver from Alabama, Jaylen Waddle. I know Giants fans are wanting to build up that offensive line. Jury kind of stole Rashaan Slater, but I think the Giants will look in a passing league to go with Waddle. Obviously, the ties to Joe Judge and Nick Saban at Alabama, that's a check mark. I think Waddle is the most explosive player in this draft. If not for the ankle injury, you could wonder those questions last year. Would he have had the season that Devontae Smith had? I think the Giants have Waddle and Smith right at the top of the board with their big signing of Kenny Golladay. I think he's the perfect complement, can run any route, be inside, outside. So the Giants, after scoring 18 points a game, give Jason Garrett another toy to play with in the true evaluation of Daniel Jones this year.
An explosive pass catcher for the Giants here at number 11. But we stay in the NFC East. Again, we go to Philly at number 12. This pick has been traded multiple times from San Francisco to Miami. Now Philly drops back here. Does that pick have any impact on who the Eagles take here at number 12? Let's go back to Jory Epstein for this pick.
You bet. With the 12th pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select South Carolina cornerback J.C. Horn. And yes, you better believe they're keeping that Giants pick in mind. With Waddle now in the NFC East, adding to receivers like Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, the Eagles need someone who is going to be able to track those guys and make life for the quarterbacks in the NFC East a little bit miserable. On top of that, Philadelphia's offense is going to need its defense helping out a little bit in the post-Carson Wentz era. And when you have Horn coming in there with the athleticism and the physicality, maybe a little more discipline on the way, Horn is going to be able to upgrade that defense and really create more opportunities for the offense. And with that, he goes to Philadelphia.
Another defensive player off the board. Those have been rare so far. We'll see how much that changes the rest of the way in the first round, but we're going to go out west now for the 13th pick. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. We bring back Tyler Dragon for their pick.
With the number 13 pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Virginia Tech offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw. The Chargers fill a void in their interior offensive line, but they still have a gaping hole at left tackle. So they believe Darrisaw can immediately start at that left tackle spot and protect NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, Justin Herbert.
So another offensive tackle here at 13 to protect that investment in Justin Herbert, last year's top pick for the Chargers. That puts the Minnesota Vikings on the clock at 14. Surprised we have not seen a pass rusher come off the board yet. Does that change here? Let's go to Pete Doherty and find out.
Yeah, got to think so, Luke. With the 14th pick, the Vikings take Kwity Paye, the outside, the edge rusher from Michigan. This was a defense that finished 29th in points last year. And with a head coach who runs the defense, that's obviously not going to cut it. Thought about going offensive line too with Vera Tucker from USC, but I think the Vikings they get the pick of the edge rushers, and I think they go that route.
So there it is, our first edge rusher off the board with Kwity Paye. That puts the New England Patriots on the clock, a team we're not used to seeing picking on the top half of the first round. And they have a lot of needs, a lot of things they need on both sides of the ball. Let's go to Mark Daniels and figure out which one they're going to fill here.
The 15th overall pick, the Patriots draft Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. And I think Bill Belichick and the Patriots would be thrilled if the board works out this way. Mac Jones is an accurate, smart pocket passer, and really he would fit in well with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. And Bill knows Nick Saban really well. He loves players from Alabama. And with the Patriots, after spending the most guaranteed money in free agency history, the one spot that's lacking is quarterback. So if they come away with someone like Mac Jones in the first round, it'd be a home run for the Patriots.
So the Patriots get their quarterback of the future, maybe even the present, and Mac Jones. We go to the Arizona Cardinals at number 16 to round out the first half of our mock draft, and we go to Bob McManaman for that pick.
Guys, with the 16th pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. And it's a whale of a doozy because no one would think he would fall that far. It's really not a position of need, but you don't draft for need in the draft, right? In the first round, you take the best player available, and Micah Parsons is it at 16. Cardinals would love to have one of those sleek pass catchers. They would love to have one of the top 2 cornerbacks. But with those guys, they're very happy with Micah Parsons, and it can do a lot of damage in Vance Joseph's defense.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, Bob. Great value with Micah Parsons, widely regarded as a potential top 10 talent in this draft. So to get him there at 16 definitely could be a steal for the Cardinals. We'll kick off the second half of our first round here with the Las Vegas Raiders. We go back to Carlos Menares for the 17th pick.
The 17th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Elijah Vera-Tucker, offensive lineman, Southern Cal. The value's just too good, and the need's too strong here to pass up on Vera-Tucker. He's the best available offensive lineman on the board at this point. He moved to left tackle last season with USC, allowed just a couple of pressures in the first 5 games. He has quick feet, which make him an asset in the run game and the pass game as well. At 6'4", his length is a little fringy to play tackle. But the Raiders traded away the entire right side of their offensive line. A left guard, Richie Incognito, is about to turn 38, coming off season-ending ankle surgery. So Tucker's sure to fill a big hole somewhere and be a day 1 starter.
So an offensive lineman for the Raiders here. The Dolphins are back up on the clock, one of multiple teams in this year's first round with multiple picks. They're on the clock now at 18. They went Devontae Smith at number 6 in our mock, giving Tua Tagovailoa a familiar face to help him out in that offense, a former teammate of his from Alabama. Do they do it again here at number 18? Joe Shad is back with that pick.
With the 18th pick, the Dolphins select Najee Harris, running back, Alabama. Tua Tagovailoa will be very pleased with this selection to get the band back together. 2 of Tua's very best friends are suddenly wearing aqua and orange in 2021. The Dolphins want to surround Tua with as many weapons as they can. This will be a polarizing pick. Many people think you don't draft a running back in the first round at all, let alone with the 18th pick. So certainly an edge rusher would be considered. Kwity Paye is off the board. Jalen Phillips would be a part of the discussion. But why not bring Tua Tagovailoa's former college roommate down to South Florida?
So our first running back comes off the board here at number 18 with Miami. That puts the Washington football team on the clock at number 19. A lot of needs on offense, but do they go defense here? We're going to go back to Art Stapleton for that pick.
Hey, Luke, with the 19th pick, I have Washington taking Jamin Davis, linebacker, Kentucky. I know it's probably a little bit of a surprise, but you're talking about one of the fastest rising players over the last couple of months, viewed as a 5th or a 6th rounder back then when the evaluation started. I think Ron Rivera looks at the quarterbacks. I think he sees some guys and maybe makes a move up. But ultimately, when you have the defensive front that Washington does, keep pouring assets on that side of the ball. I think Davis can play the middle. He can be sideline to sideline, almost like a Luke Kuechly or a Thomas Davis. We know what Ron Rivera had down in Carolina. So if I'm thinking that kind of player, I like Davis in this situation for Washington.
Davis, definitely one of the fastest rising prospects in this class. It feels like he was not in the first round conversation coming out of the college football season, but definitely wouldn't be a surprise, I think, to see him land in the first round, even in the top 20. We're going to go to the Chicago Bears now. They have the number 20 pick. We're going to go back to Dave Burkett to see where they go with this selection.
Well, with the 20th pick, the Chicago Bears select Northwestern cornerback Greg Newsome II. And look, frankly, the Bears are in a tough spot here with no quarterback to trade up for. We were the ones that were working the phone with Carolina earlier, trying to move up to number 8. They didn't like our trade offer. And my doctors wouldn't pass Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley might be a better cornerback prospect, but Greg Newsome has the speed, has the length to be a very good cornerback in the NFL. The Chicago Bears need a cornerback. And still, to go and win the NFC North, you have to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So Greg Newsome will be a starter in that secondary day 1.
Much like Davis with the previous pick, Newsome, one of the faster rising prospects in this class, had a great pro day at Northwestern. And again, would not be surprised to see him as a top 20 pick and to go ahead of Farley because of those health concerns that Dave mentioned there. We're going to go to the Indianapolis Colts at number 21. Joel Erickson is back to make their pick.
Yeah, with the 21st pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Azeez Ojulari, defensive end, Georgia. Obviously, Ojulari, a lot of people see him as an outside linebacker. The Colts play a 4-3. They're going to need him at defensive end. The Colts have two clear needs in this draft. They need a left tackle. They need a defensive end. After weighing what's there on the board, the depth at the offensive tackle class, Colts here go for the defensive end and try to get a player to fill a hole they've been trying to fill really since Chris Ballard got here. Think about Jaylen Phillips a little bit, but the Miami pass rusher has an injury history that scares the Colts off. Team doctors don't like it, and they decide to go with Ojulari as somebody who's productive, who dislodges the ball from quarterbacks like Robert Mathis once did here, and has a lot of long arms to get going.
Hard to argue with that pick. Ojulari, one of the most complete edge rushers in this draft. And again, when you bring up Phillips' injury history, it's definitely something I think could separate him from other prospects, and not in a good way, in a very deep edge class. We're going to stay in the AFC South for the 22nd pick. We're going to go to the Tennessee Titans. Ben Arthur has their pick.
Yeah, with the 22nd pick in the 2021 NFL mock draft, the Tennessee Titans select Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. The Titans have got to improve what was an awful defense in 2020, worst rated third down defense in the league, just 19 sacks on the season. And look, the pass rush was addressed a bit in free agency with signing Bud Dupree and Danico Autry. But cornerback is still a big hole with Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson released. Caleb Farley can come in and, potentially be a long-term option at outside corner. Obviously there's the injury concerns, but he's just too good of a prospect, too much upside to pass up. And he's the best available corner with Surtain, Newsome, and J.C. Horn off the board. So Caleb Farley is the pick here.
So the fall stops for Caleb Farley, again, a player that was considered a potential top 10 talent at the beginning of the season. He opted out of the 2020 college football season, had the back surgery in the offseason. So it's definitely a wild card prospect in terms of where he's going to fall come Thursday. We're going to go to number 23 here, another team in the AFC East that's got multiple first-round picks in this year's draft. The New York Jets are on the clock with a pick they got from Seattle in the Jamal Adams trade. We're going to go to Andy Vasquez for their pick.
Yeah, so the Jets could go in a lot of different directions here. Edge rusher, cornerback, interior offensive line. I mean, you guys saw the Jets play last year. They have a lot of needs. But I think this is an opportunity where a lot of those guys at those positions are already off the board. And the Jets have a big need at wide receiver, and this is the opportunity to get a playmaker. So at number 23, I have them taking Rashad Bateman. He's a big guy with good speed on the outside, the ability to break open the field as a vertical threat and to come over the middle and make some catches in traffic, and a perfect weapon for Zach Wilson, the kind of number one weapon that they never got for Sam Darnold and that they've needed for so long. So I think he could be a great option for them and somebody who could grow with Wilson as the years go on.
So a big athletic pass catcher to help out your young quarterback in Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick in this mock. We go to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24 overall. They have tons of needs on both sides of the ball. They can only make one pick here, and we go to Nate Ulrich for that.
Thanks, Commissioner Luke. With the 24th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. From ownership on down, the Steelers are frustrated that they finished last in the league in rushing last year. Yeah, it's a passing league. Ben Roethlisberger's back. His top receivers are back. But the Steelers play in the AFC North. They play in cold weather cities and outdoor stadiums. They need to get that running game going. They considered taking Najee Harris, Alabama running back, but he was off the board with the Dolphins taking him at 18. So they go to an offensive tackle here in Jenkins. Alejandro Villanueva, a free agent, expected to go to the Ravens here after the draft. So the Steelers think this makes a lot of sense to get that running game going again.
Yeah, Nate, I agree. A great fit there for Pittsburgh, a guy that can play right tackle, could play guard if you want to move him inside, both things that I think the Steelers could use to improve that running game. we're going to go to, again, another team with multiple first-round picks. The Jacksonville Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence at number 1. They're back on the clock at number 25 with a pick they got from the Los Angeles Rams in the Jalen Ramsey trade. So we go back to John Reed for their second selection.
With the 25th pick, the Jaguars select Kadarius Toney from Florida, the wide receiver. This much difficult choice than that number 1 overall pick. Now, this is a Urban Meyer pick. He likes speed. He doesn't want – one thing about having speed on the field, you don't have to develop it. You just utilize it, and that's what he needs. And you could put Toney at the slot. You can put him in outside. He can do many things, downfield threat, and those kind of things. And you want to get as many weapons as you can on the field for Trevor Lawrence. So the Jaguars can worry about defense, which is also a problem, but they can worry about those issues and try to get that defensive front better in the second and third and fourth rounds.
So the Jaguars back-to-back offensive picks here in the first round. Trevor Lawrence, an explosive wide receiver to help him out. They do have multiple second-round picks as well, like you said, to be able to build up that defense. We're going to turn back to the AFC North, back to Nate Orrick again for the Cleveland Browns pick here at 26.
With the 26th overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Zaven Collins, linebacker, Tulsa. So the Browns really want a cornerback here. They need a cornerback. They don't have many needs, but cornerback is definitely at the top of the list. The top 4 are off the board. They considered Asante Samuel Jr. They also considered another linebacker, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. But Zaven Collins is the pick here because he's so versatile. That's the key word in Joe Woods' system, defensive coordinator of the Browns. Zaven Collins is 6'5", 260, so he can moonlight as an edge rusher on third down. He can cover well. He had 4 interceptions last season for Tulsa, including 2 pick-6s. So there's some options here. The Browns really want a corner, but they're going to address that need in the second round with Zaven Collins being their pick here.
So, yes, a big, physical, versatile linebacker for the Browns defense here. We're going to stay in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens are on the clock at 27. They now have multiple first-round picks after the Orlando Brown trade. This is their original selection. We're going to go back to Ben Arthur and see who it is.
Yeah, with the 27th pick in the 2021 NFL mock draft, the Baltimore Ravens will select Jaylen Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami. Obviously, offensive tackle has become at the forefront, obviously, with Orlando Brown heading out to Kansas City, but the edge rush need is too big to pass up with losing both Matthew Judon and Yannick Ngakoue. Obviously, Jaylen Phillips has some medicals that, has to be cleared, from that standpoint, but he was super productive at Miami, led the Hurricanes in both sacks and tackles for loss. And so this is the direction the Ravens will go here.
Yeah, much like Caleb Farley, Ben, I think that, this is a pick where you have a top 10, top 15 talent. He may be the most talented pure pass rusher in this draft. So if he is able to stay healthy, you get him at 27, could be a huge steal for Baltimore there with a big need. We're going to go to the New Orleans Saints here, number 28 overall. We bring back Bob McManaman for the NFC South champs pick.
With the 28th pick, the New Orleans Saints select safety Trayvon Merrick, TCU. And I think it's a hell of a pick for these guys. They need improvement in the secondary almost everywhere. They could go with the 7th or 8th rated cornerback. I think we've already gone through 5 or 6. Asante Samuel or Tyson Campbell from Georgia. But I think Merrick gives this team a presence. He's like a big honey badger. He's a thumper who's a hybrid linebacker / safety. And who wouldn't want a thumping big honey badger in their secondary? I know I would. I had one, actually.
I tell you what, if any team knows what a player like that can do on the back end, it's the New Orleans Saints after having to deal with Antoine Winfield Jr. last year in Tampa Bay, their second-round pick. So that makes plenty of sense, Bob. We're going to go to Green Bay here at number 29. Do they give Aaron Rodgers some help, or is this pick used somewhere else? Pete Doherty, what's it going to be?
Luke, I think they're going defense at number 29 overall. The Green Bay Packers take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. Really seriously considered Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle from Alabama. Also, as they say, finding big athletic guys is really hard. There's only so many on the planet, so you got to take them when you get the chance. But the Packers haven't had a really dynamic guy made for today's defensive football in the middle of their defense for, basically forever. So this guy would give them some explosiveness in the middle of the field.
Definitely a very versatile, athletic, talented playmaker who can line up really all over the place. You call him a linebacker, but he can do a lot of things with his size and athleticism. Great pick there for Green Bay. We're going to go to the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills, a team that feels like they're ready to make a Super Bowl run. Not a whole lot of needs on that list. We're going to go to Sal Mayorana and see who's going to be added to that talented roster here at number 30.
Yeah, Luke, you pretty much said it. The Bills don't have any glaring needs, which is pretty rare for the Buffalo Bills the last 3 decades. I think Brandon Beane would love to trade out of this spot and pick up an extra pick. They don't have a 4th-round pick in this draft, but I think that if they stay there, cornerback's got to be the spot, and the Bills will take Asante Samuel Jr. Sean McDermott coached his father for a few years in Philadelphia, so he probably knows the family, knows the player. He was a decent guy at Florida State, made 3 picks last year, has some versatility. The Bills have been trying to replace Levi Wallace at cornerback too for 3 years. So maybe Samuel can come in and be that guy. He's also got some diversity. He can perhaps move inside a little bit too and give Taron Johnson some help in the slot. So Asante Samuel looks like the logical guy because they do need a cornerback, I think, more than any other position on the team.
I tell you what, Sal, we got Patrick Surtain II. We've got Asante Samuel Jr. I don't know about you, but I feel really old right now.
Yeah, sure do.
Let's go back to Baltimore. They have 2 first-round picks in this draft. Again, one of 4 teams with multiple selections after the Orlando Brown trade. They now pick 31st with that pick that used to belong to the defending AFC champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. We go back to Lorenzo Reyes to make the Ravens' 2nd pick.
Yeah, Luke, so Ben Arthur did such a good job picking the edge rusher. I think that makes him Eric DaCosta. I'll just be a director of player personnel here. I don't want to make him mad. With the 31st pick in the draft, the Baltimore Ravens are taking Alex Leatherwood, the tackle out of Alabama. This is a clear need. Obviously, you trade a 2-time Pro Bowler, a right tackle. You want to replace him. And Leatherwood, he's versatile. He's not a polished prospect, but they can slide him inside. They can put him outside. He has the strength you want, and he's pretty good in the rushing game, which is a Baltimore staple. So I think between that and then the Ozzie Newsome connection at Alabama, this pick just makes too much sense.
So an offensive tackle to replace the recently departed Orlando Brown Jr. for the Baltimore Ravens there. That brings us to the final pick of our mock draft, and the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which still feels really strange to say. But they are back on the clock here. Again, a team not with very many needs. They brought the whole band back together. Their entire starting lineup from that Super Bowl team has returned. So, Nate Davis, what do you give a team that has everything?
Well, you said it, Luke. The entire lineup is back intact. You wonder if maybe we trade out of this spot, but and at some point we've got to start rebuilding for the future for this team. But Bruce Arians is 68. Tom Brady is 43. We're not running it back here. We're going for 2. So we're going to give Tom Brady another toy. The pick is going to be Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. One guy we don't have back is Antonio Brown. You bring in Elijah Moore. He can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He even carries the ball a little bit. Could do some wingback stuff for you. So versatile weapon for you, and a guy that can maybe step into Chris Godwin's shoes in 2022 if we're not able to re-sign our franchise tag receiver. So we're going with Moore.
I'll tell you what, Nate, after seeing both of your picks, I really need the NFL to change that helmet rule so I can get a Falcons versus Bucks throwback game with creamsicle and red helmets. I need it now. I need it. That wraps up our NFL mock draft from the USA Today Sports Network. We're going to bring everybody back up on the screen here and just show you the width and breadth of the network here. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, everybody watching on YouTube. I want to thank all these amazing beat writers for joining us, sharing their knowledge and their expertise on these picks. We hope you enjoy the rest of draft week. Again, the first round ready to kick off on Thursday night. Thank you so much for joining us for another year of the USA Today Sports Network mock draft. Enjoy your week, enjoy the draft, and we'll see you next year.